What's going on, everybody? LK here. So last night was the Game Awards where they announced a new character, everyone's favorite character, and especially my favorite character in Guilty Gear, Elphelt Valentine. But they also announced that the patch would drop with her, and it's out already. So normally there's a little time, maybe like a couple days, maybe like a week between these announcements, but everything came out at the same time. So I decided to instead of doing an alpha overview today, I decided to do a patch notes, like visual guide today, since it's out already and there's just a ton of changes. So I'm going to be going through the system changes, the most important ones, and going through all the character changes to just show you what they look like. So first is positive bonus. So positive bonus here has less active time, and the rate you gain tension is actually way faster, but it doesn't last this long. So you see it's already over. If I was in positive bonus last patch, I definitely would have gotten full meter from this, for example. You would still get full meter from doing a string, so let's say I just hit a couple buttons real quick here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, see, like you're still pretty good here, but it just lasts not as long. So they definitely still like the idea of positive bonus. This is definitely one of the main mechanics of this version of Guilty Gear, but they are making it shorter. This does affect some characters negatively. So in my case, like on Baiken, it doesn't really matter. Baiken kills you really quickly in positive, but there's some characters that were able to stall for burst very effectively, like Happy Chaos, so I think this affects them the most, while you still get to use positive bonus in general. Next change is that blue burst has more recovery. So this is actually my old blue burst combo from season 2, so you couldn't really do this in season 3. You either could do one, or the old one used to be able to do, which is this, which kind of sucks. Now you get bombos again. This I'm pretty happy about, I cannot lie. I definitely was annoyed by like just not getting good combos on burst. There's some characters who couldn't even like really punish burst from far without like just hitting just far slash and getting nothing, so I think it's a really good change. Next, we must talk about Wild Assault. So for all versions, you now take away less burst on hit or block. To me, it looks around like 5%, and apparently they fixed the issue causing slowdown at the wrong time and canceling the startup of a normal move. Not really sure when that happens, but the big one to talk about is how they change how much you take away on hit or block. So here's a normal one. It takes around like it definitely takes less than 10%, I want to say it's more like 5 to 7% personally, and then the charge one takes the same amount. So actually on block, I was quite adamant that I wanted this to stay. I wanted this aspect on block to stay, and on block it kind of works like last patch, which is kind of nice. The only difference being that, of course, charge Wild Assault doesn't take as much. However, probably the biggest thing is how it works on hit. So I'm gonna do a combo that in last patch is not just burst safe, it's burst safe in a really dirty way. So the old way this combo I'm about to do, that used to work like this, is that the last hit is going to be Yozansen that wall splats, and you get your burst back on the Yozansen, but Baiken would recover like right when you get your burst. So you could burst it. You had the option to burst it before it wall splat you, and if you burst it, you're extra screwed, because you're gonna get wall broken anyway. So she just sits there and waits for the wall to splat. So it looks like this. So before, she would get the burst back on Yozansen quite a bit later than currently. Like here, I can't conceive right now a way of this being burst safe, because you're bursting to JD in this combo. So of course they're not targeting Baiken, right? So what they are actually targeting are combos like this. So this is a Ram round start combo. So the way this would work before is that once you get to this H sword toss where she's waiting there, that part is burst save. I actually think Ram is kind of still cooking here because her S sword is burst save. So I actually can think of a way for her to still have this, which is kind of screwed up, but this is the kind of thing they're kind of aiming for. Now, specifically for Red Wild Assault, It builds less risk gauge than it used to, but frankly, looking at it compared to Blue Water Assault, I feel like it builds the same, which goes to show you that Red probably built more than I realized before. Also, Charge Red Water Assault has more startup. For example, this used to combo with Ram, and now it doesn't. You do get this on counter hit though. But this makes it much easier to burst Charge Red Water Assault. A lot of the stronger characters had Charge Red Water Assault combos. Ram doesn't really need it in comparison, but it was a pretty common thing with Soul and Kai, for example, so I definitely see the vision with this change. Now for Blue, they gave you more guard crush time. It's pretty clear too on the uncharged one, and they keep you closer than before. This one's a little bit harder to show. The last one to look at is White Wild Assault. So they said they increase in movement speed. They were really not kidding. It looks way faster than it used to, even though it's the same startup. So Deflect Shield got two major changes. So one of them is it causes knockback for certain moves that were not impacted by knockback. So this one might not sound that big, but it's actually a pretty big one. So basically, before, Red Roman Cancel would actually negate Wild Assault, which I actually thought was pretty fair, to be honest. Common ones would be situations where characters have a 50-50 off Red RC, because the Red RC would negate the Deflect Shield, so that's the biggest change they made there. It also feels just, in general, a little bit easier to input Deflect Shield. They didn't say it. This is definitely, it just feels like it, but last patch, I was definitely doing half circle back to input Deflect Shield, but with my like small testing, I've been doing it pretty consistently just by doing quarter circle back, which is kind of nice. I know people are complaining about their Deflect Shields not coming out, myself included, so that's kind of nice. There's another change where they said that knockback is uniform regardless of the opponent's attack, which I also think is tied into this, but I felt like, emphasis on felt like, last patch it already worked like this, so I thought it was kind of oddly worded, but I think they're saying that to apply truly to everything. If you have any thoughts on this, by the way, definitely let me know. Last one's kind of hard to show, but it's just that 2Ks are way less likely to clash than before. You only feel this if you play certain characters. I did main Millia, so I actually felt this really bad when I played her. So even though I think this one's kind of random, I do think it's pretty important. Alright, so now we're going to go through individual character changes. So this is the winter patch, so there's not going to be as many as the season 3.0 patch. So let's get started with Soul. For Soul, the elephant in the room is 6p. So before, this would actually knock up on normal hit. Now it does not anymore. So his return on this is actually much lower than before without resource. Here, this would actually wall bounce to be able to do a really big combo. He's still going to have Wild Assault as a cash out, but remember that is half your resource, and they nerfed Wild Assault. So I think it's actually a pretty decent nerf for him. Then there's Air Bandit Revolver. It doesn't go as far. It still moves as fast. It looks to me, at least. They said that it has less movement speed and decreased descent speed. So he does fall in a more obvious way. I don't think he goes as far. I don't think this looks as big of a nerf as they tried to make it sound. I also thought it was kind of random because I didn't think it was that good, you know. And last is Grounded Bandit Bringer. So here it is. It's a little bit closer. It clearly has more recovery. This move was -2 last patch, where while it's still safe to 5 frames, right? So that's Kai's 2p. You can't jump this, so it is definitely not as safe as it used to be. You would definitely be able to jump something like this before. So it's still a good option, but it's not as easy for him to keep offense on people. So next we have Kai. So Kai only has 2 changes. So one is about Far Slash. It has less active frames and more recovery. So last patch it was like 6 active, so only heavy characters even had a chance of backdashing this move, and its total duration was 28 frames. So keep in mind that this is like 24. So having a Far Slash that's less than 30, so Baiken's is like 30 or 31 for example, everyone's like, this one's really bullshit, right? So having one that's less than that is pretty crazy, and he combos pretty consistently off it too. So it's easier to whip punish and has less active frames. My feeling is that it has like 5 active frames. They only reduced it by 1 because I still get hit here if I mistime it, and Soul has a 5 frame invincible backdash, right? So but here though, last patch I would definitely get hit. So Actually, one funny rule about Kai, especially for last patch, is you can't backdash Kai. You just cannot backdash this character. So it's kind of nice that at least for a neutral, they're letting you reposition against it. The other change is about Stun Dipper. So for Stun Dipper, they expanded the upper hurt box as the attack comes out. So Stun Dipper is a pretty classic low profile fast move that Kai's had in like basically every Guilty Gear game. This move got nerfed actually last patch so that it's 7 frames instead of 5, but now they also have this. So I think the main goal here is so that he's not able to use it as liberally on defense, and that it's specifically supposed to be a neutral tool. So the main way I'm going to show this nerf is not from neutral, because basically from neutral this thing is the same. You know, he's just going to go under my move. Usually he goes under this move, but here I tagged him, right? The real way to show is from here. Even at max 5H range, he's not able to Stun Dipper under this, where he used to be able to do this. This was very annoying to deal with before. So now, if you have this type of pressure with a character, he won't be able to just slide under it, which would be nice. So Mei got a slight adjustment, basically like a slight buff to her new special moves. So what they did is they made it easier for her to do follow-ups after Mr. Dolphin and the new move Split. This means they made it so that she can act earlier after both of these moves. So not only is it easier to do, you can do it way earlier than before. Essentially, for my testing, you can piano slash into kick and do it instantly, which you couldn't do before. I remember when I was messing around with her when the last patch came out, I felt it was like kind of weird to time this. So this is actually pretty easy to do now, and you can attack a little bit earlier, but they say you can buff it earlier. This one kind of feels the same. It doesn't feel as drastic as how early you can do Split. They also made it so that these moves are bigger now. I'm not gonna lie though, from my testing, it doesn't feel that much bigger. I would definitely need a Mei player to be like, oh, like it's for this situation or that situation. So then Axl. So Axl is one of the 2 characters in this patch blessed with a new special move. It's called Whistling Wind. So we don't really know any data about this. So the main things that we have is that, you know, here's the move, and it hits air dashes and super jump air dash, right? So there's some other things in the game where super jump air dash will get you over. You do go a little bit higher. You can also charge it, and it travels for a while. And when I say a while, okay, not quite half screen, but it has a good amount of presence. I am unsure if part charging actually does anything. It seems that there's only 2 versions of the move and not like a mid version of the move. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because, for example, Testament has 3 levels to their fireball. So they have the immediate one, they have the fully charged one, and there's like one in between when they kind of like half charge it. I don't really feel like Axl has a partly charged one. So I think the main point of this is that they just want to give him other cancel options, because a lot of his normals he is disadvantaged and attacks from a long range, and you can gamble with either dash block or IAD, and they want to make both weaker. So if I do this, I just run into it, but then if I IAD, I also run into it. So this move looks pretty oppressive. I don't really know how people are going to be fighting this new move yet and how good it's going to be overall, but I do think it's really, really helpful for him. So other changes that were made are to his 6p. So his 6p, it looks like it's buffed so that the lowest part of the hitbox comes out earlier. So you'll see this in a bunch of characters where there's actually 2 types of upper body info on the 6p. So the first one that activates is the one above the waist, and then the rest of it activates. So everybody's activates at a different time. So in last patch, Axl would not really be able to hit Ram here. I actually took a note about this because I was learning how to play Ram. So Axl 6p would lose unless you did like a running close slash and dash into sword. That's the only way he would actually get hit. So this is actually a pretty big buff for him for defensive spots, because there's a lot of characters who could bully him for not having good 6p. He did have the 2k as an option to fight back, so now he's got both the good 2k and a buff 6p, which is pretty nice. So they apparently buffed this, expanded lower and back hitbox as the attack activates. This is mostly a hard call on dash jumping already, so as far as the hitbox, I think it might be like a combo thing personally. And then jump D, has decreased knockback. It's pretty clear too. I think this is just for this to confirm way easier. If you played him before, you would know that like JD knocks him really far away. I mostly think it's to make this type of thing a little bit more consistent. Finally, Axl Bomber got an expanded frontal hitbox for the latter half of the active frames. I think this is for certain times where when you're doing Axl Bomber loops, when you're doing it multiple times in a combo, that like that last one that might miss, you will get it to connect. Alright, so first, Chipp. So his 5P got a nerf. This is one of the only 3-frame moves in the game. So it just doesn't hit as far. You kind of see like his fist is reaching into Potemkin, but this is not hitting in the head, you know? It's not quite reaching. So the big change though is to res shield. So I actually thought that this would be like a slight nerf to him because I thought that it meant that he would be closer after like running up and doing a button to res shield. No. So what this actually is that you keep your momentum when you cancel it before the attack startup. So he got a change where he's like Anji and he could do like with retro into follow-ups. So this means he could do this now, which is to me is crazy. He's fast enough already. Streets did not need that. That being said, the hitbox and hurtbox of the low follow-up is higher, and they made a small change where apparently they got knocked back differently on aerial counter hit, even though they nerfed the counter hit state to Rekkas. The overhead here is less affected by momentum, so you saw still makes it though. And then wall run has a change that a lot of characters have who have like any type of movement special moves where if you do deflect shield for some reason while they're doing it, it's not affected by it, which I think most people didn't know that this move was affected by deflect shield. Then Potemkin. So first, Potemkin got a buff to 6P so that hits from behind. So Potemkin is not very mobile. This is still something you can kind of think about for fighting him. So his 6P is actually pretty vulnerable. Like when he whiffs that, he's vulnerable for a long time. A lot of stronger characters were really good at taking advantage of this and basically forcing him to either guess with Heat Knuckle, which is pretty risky, or preemptively do something like preemptively jump H or something like that. So there it is, hitting from behind. It's actually a way I would use to make his 6P whiff and take advantage of his lack of mobility to force him to guess, was actually to overshoot him on purpose. There's other characters you can use this strategy against too, like Ino. That being said, you still can make it whiff the same way. It's just that if you overshoot and attack right away, then he'll be able to hit you. So of course, if you're a Baiken main, this affects you. If you play Happy Chaos, this affects you. So just keep that in mind. He does have a new move. It is this. It looks hilarious. This is like one of the first things I actually tested when the patch dropped. You do get knockdowns off this. You see it's 2 hits here. It doesn't look like you actually have time to do Garo to Impact, which I find interesting. Nor do you have time to OTG, because I actually thought this would be a thing that would fix it. Is that, oh, you could OTG then, and then like do like Kara 6K Garuda or something. You also can't mash a bunch into it. This is me doing 3 2Ps into it. Can't do it. On crouching also, if you do this, the move will just go over you and he dies. But you can get a couple jabs in there. Here's another example of not really being able to do it off max range. I still think it's okay for this as a move itself. So this is how much frame advantage you have. You just have like a ton of frame advantage when you block it in the air. Kind of like this is the main point of the move, I think. When you block it in the ground, he's basically punishable. You can crouch on this pretty easily. You have to be kind of at max range to actually be able to walk under this. You could run under it really easily. It's mostly as a neutral move, at least. I think it's to attack people who do this. This is a really common strategy as Potemkin. You kind of just sit here. I learned this with Axl originally, and then I do this with Baiken too, where like you kind of just sit here, you wait for slide head. Hammerfall doesn't really do anything. He's not close enough to do Heat Knuckle. If he does Mega Fist, you hit him. It's actually pretty solid strategy if you're not like super good or get like a super big return for punishing slide head. And you just kind of whittle away at his HP. So this is a really direct call out to that actually has, you know, good return. Like if he makes you block in the air, he has a lot of advantage. If he swings into it like this, you get a heavy counter hit, but flaws. So one, it's really easy to react to. You know, it's an armor move. So if you have meter, like he is just done here. The other thing is, if you do an attack, you're not screwed, but he's still advantageous, which I think is kind of nice for him, where you do something like this. But I think the downside to this, though, is that I was getting an instant block on jump canceling into blocking on this. I'm not going to say 100%, but pretty consistently. And if you instant block it, you're basically, like, I don't think he's going to be able to act. So, overall, an okay move. I think it's going to be just another move that he has where, like, when he has meter, it's ridiculous. And, of course, he gets jabs into it, which is nice. But he doesn't get his best situation. Like, not being able to do Garuda meaty off this. If there's a buff I expect for him, is that he's going to get more frame advantage on knockdown on this. Finally, in the case you do get this on counter hit, you do actually have enough time to meaty guard impact. Then they did a change to Hammerfall where I would see this like once a month where you would hit it a certain way and the armor would go the wrong way. So apparently they fixed that, and they made his Wild Assault bigger, which you might have noticed because I used him in the beginning. They made the front hitbox way bigger, so it hits from like here. So not only did they give him an anti-air move from here, they also gave him like an invincible move of burst that hits from also here. So that's very cool. So next is Faust. So Faust got the same 6p change as Axl. So it's similar to what you saw, where you saw Axl 6p something he couldn't 6p before. Faust has the same thing now. The main other change is to the item eat. So they made it so that the item eat, if you got donut or banana, you would gain health. So basically, those two items, if you got them item eat, they didn't really do anything. So now these are like quote unquote favorable for him. I mean, it actually is favorable, but when you store donut, you just eat it. You can see it go up for like a sec before it goes to like, you know, it's training mode, so it goes back to what it wants to, but he does actually get HP for doing this. Alright, after a little time skip, if you play Faust and you know where this item icon is supposed to be, can you tell me? Because I don't see it. So that's banana. So you get banana peel now right away. So that's another change they made, but I don't see where it's supposed to be. I don't know if it's supposed to be on like on his body. It's nowhere on the screen. Normally they put it I'm looking for it. I don't see it. Maybe I'm getting trolled. Maybe I don't have the thing on. But if someone knows what that is, please tell me. Alright, this is post editing LK. I don't know why I got memed. I'm on my PC version. Maybe it's because I have some mod on or something. But it is definitely there. Usually I record these on console. So I bet if I boot up my console, then it won't be a big deal. But a friend sent me a screenshot of what it looks like. It's very clear and obvious here. So great change. Good. Alright, we move. Finally, as far as the teleport, the S version, he goes off screen doing this. So again, this is a kind of common change. Characters that have teleports like this, it's no longer affected by the flex shield when Faust has disappeared. Okay, so next, Millia. So they made it so that JH has less knockback on air hits. While I see the vision on this, I think this change is pretty negligible. You do get close slash, which is kind of nice, but I did actually like the aspect that you had to pick the right move for the situation, you know? Like, you should be picking this, the disjointed button, when you see someone airborne and you air dash forward at them, as opposed to picking this. So it's a little quality of life thing. They also give Mirage the simplified commands, kind of similar to like Happy Chaos last patch, where the old way you would do it is you would do like more like 214K into 214P right away. I do remember when they added this change to Mirage, a lot of people in YouTube comments were like, how do you actually do this so fast? And I was like, I don't know, I just do it. So for the people who are asking who needs this, apparently people definitely needed it. So now the follow-ups are, if you press back P, you just get Iron Savior. If you press forward S, you just get Disc. If you press back S, you get Lust Shaker. I'm still doing it the old way because I can't help it because that's how I learned it. And if you press forward HS, you get H Disc. So like that. Overall, not really any big changes for Millia, but she got big changes last patch. Next comes Zato. So Zato only got, surprisingly, because a lot of people are complaining about Zato, only got 2 changes. So one is about Invite Hell. honestly, this is the first time I'm seeing it. It doesn't look that dramatic. That being said, though, they mention it as a combo tool. So, for example, I don't think he had that before. I think this is definitely something to stall for Eddie. They're definitely sticking to their guns with the Eddie nerf here. Another change they made was to break the law, where there's apparently an issue where Zato could not move or switching positions with Eddie using down, which was a pretty niche change that they gave him last patch. You know, in season 2, what I'm about to do was burst save, and it's still not, I believe. So I don't know. I don't think they gave him a lot. Ramlethal Valentine was not changed. They just changed a small issue with Calvados, but she has no actual balance changes. So Leo Whitefang. Got some changes. So one is about Brynhilder's stance. So apparently there was an issue here where Wild Assault would not trigger at some timing. Maybe Leo players know. But the big one is about his fireballs having less recovery. It doesn't look like it has that much less. I was not pleased to read that, because that's like one of his actual things that you could take advantage of, because he's a really strong neutral character. So this having a weakness where he already has this super esports move, I was not very happy to see. So for both versions of the DP, they made the hitbox bigger in front for the first half of the active frames of the second hit. So see how there's 2 hits. They did have times where there was some funkiness with this and this here. So they also made it for the HDP to make sure that the second hit would hit. They made the last hit bigger horizontally and hit lower. So there's that. And then last but not least, they made a change to a super where you can no longer low profile this. So you actually could low profile that first hit before. It's kind of niche because his DP, of course, is like a top class DP, right? But it was a thing you could do. Now you can't do it anymore. So first for Nago actually comes from this. So if you're not blessed to have a 9-frame move here, so I luckily have always been able to challenge this at round start with Baiken, but there's actually a bigger hurt box as the attack comes out. More moves should be able to interact with this at round start than before. Then for his command grab, they made it so that the effect doesn't last as long. Kind of similar to positive bonus. Like the rate of the blood gauge draining is faster, but doesn't last as long. It's a similar, really similar change to positive bonus. Here's an example of me doing what Nago does best, which is meme. So he's gonna do this. So he's definitely gonna pop here, but we're gonna grab first. And then you see how fast it drains. Did you see how fast it drained initially? And then you go right back into it, and then we pop. Honestly, I kind of think he got away with a slap on the wrist. Not gonna lie. Especially since Wild Assault movement speed is buffed. So, honestly, I think they let him skirt past. I still think this character's top tier, but... So, Geo got a couple of changes. One change I can show, and one change that I can't show. So, one is to her 5k. They said it has less active frames and increased recovery, kind of like Kai's Far Slash. The overall recovery and frame advantage remains unchanged. So what they're saying is, it's not like they added it towards the end. They did a thing where like they reduced the active frames and added the recovery to that. To make it a little bit easier to see, this move is really juiced. Basically, it's an 8-frame startup, 4-frame active traveling move. This move is pretty ridiculous. I do think it's kind of random they nerfed this. As opposed to, you know, a couple patches ago, they nerfed like this move, which was Hybrid Esports. But hey, do you Arxis? The one I can't really show off is the change to this. When they gave her the enhanced special moves, she uses this a ton in combos, like 4 or 5 times in combos. 5 might be stretching it, but definitely like 3-4 times. So similar to how like Baiken got her like 4 close slashes in the combo shot, I think they're doing the same thing here. I think that's kind of okay. And then they gave the power-up move easy follow-ups as well. So 4k gives you the 214k ender, 6k gives you spiral arrow, 4s gives you flip kick, and then finally 6s gives you DP. Side note, in the patch notes it says Sol Puente. I'm definitely saying that wrong for DP, but I'm pretty sure that's not the name of the move. Just a small error in case people are confused by that. Then Anji. So Anji got some pretty big changes, right? So 5k has a bigger hitbox and hurtbox, so it hits from much further than before. This would definitely whiff last patch. I have a lot of anti-Anji because he's annoying to fight, so I know this will definitely whiff from this range. This move is faster. So you can't special cancel it anymore, but it moves faster. The last hit pushes back a significant amount. Because it's faster, you get like this. So he wasn't actually able to do combos off P buttons. He was like one of the last characters in the game who didn't have like 2P into at least like a crumb of something. So now he does. He used to just do this, and which was actually a pretty common like older Guilty Gear thing. But now he gets like this soft knockdown thing where you roll away like this. The last big change is actually to Nagiha. So this is low option after fusion. So basically he's able to follow up now. If you're close enough, you can pick up with close slash. My thing is though, if you get hit for some reason at max range, you doesn't really look like you could follow up, but he does get to safe jump stuff. Like I was doing Giovanna's reversal quote unquote DP, which there are times where you're able to beat her reversal 6P, but not that. And he's able to beat that in cases. So he gets a safe jump up that now, which he didn't used to. So pretty big buffs to this move. Honestly, I think this is a really big buff for him. Next we have Ino. Ino only has 2 changes. One which, if you're an Ino player, I don't know if you knew it was different for her compared to other characters. I definitely didn't. Her jump apparently was affected more by Wild Assault than other characters, which, thinking about it, I guess makes sense, because I actually remember I was recording an Ino combo for a video, and I was like, this combo's weird, like just super weird to do compared to other Red Wild Assault characters, where now it looks a little bit like more normal, I guess. But the big one is to this move. So this is her new special move, Mad Love Agitato, right? So it is the same startup and the same active frames and the same recovery. But what they did, and honestly, I actually think it's a big deal, but I talked to other Ino players and they don't think it's a big deal, is that they made her jump sooner. So what that means is it's easier to differentiate compared to her hover dash now. So last patch, politely, this shit was a fucking jump scare when she did this, bro. Like, you just could not see her go off the ground. It was such a dirty move. Honestly, cool idea, by the way. Cool idea. I definitely think this is a nerf, because I thought part of the point of this was to make it so that it was harder to deal with like people who would just spam moves that beat like hover plus something at the same time. I thought that was kind of the point of this. So if you're looking at this and you don't think it's a big difference, you probably don't play a character with a good 6P or a good meterless reversal, because as someone who like, you know, Goldlewis is on the screen. So, for example, against Goldlewis, one important thing that I would practice with a meterless reversal is making sure I do my reversal against like this and this and this, but not this, right? Because this looks different enough from him swinging his massive coffin, right, that I could differentiate. I don't just slam on the reversal. I try to actually see the thing coming and then do the reversal. So the way this animated before, I really was just, you just can't. And now it looks like you can. So I think it's a big deal, especially if you have a fast 6P. Also, you could fight this a lot better. I think this second thing also reads like a nerf of the situation when an opponent blocks it in the air is the same on the ground. So this is a good situation, by the way. She's like plus 12. She can't like guarantee follow up with stuff, but you know, she has like a bunch of guessing games she could play. So I actually never checked what this was like on like air block, but it seems that this is a nerf, because I thought she had more advantage on air block personally, but correct me on that if I'm wrong. She also goes significantly higher than before, which also makes it easier to 6P. To really drive this home, Ino would be lunging kind of at like his waist before, or right now it's at like Goldlewis's head. So this is very clearly they want it to be easier to 6P. So then Goldlewis got a couple of buffs. So his 2K has less startup than before. So I believe it was 8 frames before, which is kind of bad, but his 2P is like really esports. It's like 5 frames plus 3. So now he could punish this. I don't think he could punish this before. I always forget that Ino's S stroke is like -7. So it's at least 7 frames, which is pretty nice. So here, if the CPU was good at the game, they would cancel into 2K2D or 2K Behemoth. 2K2D is actually pretty nice compared to one problem that some Goldlewis players have, but some don't. Some Goldlewis players do 2P Behemoth, where others would do 2P Behemoth right away. So in the case you do have like a -7 thing, he will probably be able to punish it and could just do 2K2D. His 2K2D is pretty decently large here. Then we have Close Slash. So they say added forward movement. So he doesn't actually slide forward from my testing. It's not like he's running forward. I do think it has like some momentum behind it, but like he doesn't actually advance. He just physically moves forward more. It's kind of weird to describe. Then 2S has less recovery. It doesn't feel that significant to me compared to before. Goldlewis players, let me know how you feel. Then to 268, it has a proxy requirement for the attack to connect on attack activation. So I don't know how this is going to affect frame data. To my memory, point blank, this was +3. I think this is making it universally +3 because if I'm remembering this the right way, it used to be that you could make it more plus by hitting it from further, by doing stuff like far slash into it. So I think this is actually a nerf, personally, like a small nerf. And last, they made the 624 have a bigger frontal hurt box. So this move. So I actually kind of like this because this is basically when you pick him up, he has like 684 and 624. 684 is kind of weird to do. So they say they made it so that the 624 slightly outranges 684. So he has another neutral tool. So next, JackO. So defend command, they nerfed the duration of the defend command when you're not holding the minion. So when this is still kind of the same. The ones that are not being held, parry for less time. This kind of makes sense because she's just vulnerable here. All I have to do is, you know, it's just not as long as before, clearly. So it both has more recovery when you're not holding a servant, and the time window is less. They changed countdown. Apparently there was like, you know, an issue. Anytime they say there's an issue, it's like usually some niche thing that doesn't happen very often, where there was some weird blowback under certain conditions. So some bugginess, right? Then to the super, this also has a proxy requirement now. So we're gonna use Happy Chaos here. Far slash is a disjoint. Let's see what happens. Okay, but that looks still normal. I'm assuming it's from like really far away. Still got it. Okay, this is an extreme one. Let's see. Don't know. To me, it looks like it's working similarly. There must have been some funkiness, you know, because in the patch notes it says it can no longer hit extended hurt boxes. So then Happy Chaos. So Happy Chaos has 2 changes, but 2 pretty big changes. If you don't know how to fight him or don't know how he works very well, you will think it's a big deal. And if you do know how to fight him, you will also think it's a big deal. First, you have to look at fire. So remember, he has a normal gunshot and he has steady aim, right? So a lot of the old changes were about like if he was here, he would use more resource, but then the last patch, it actually made it so that he gains resource back actually a little bit faster than before. So now what they did is that fire, so this is a normal H button, pretty much uses as much focus as steady aim. Right now, you can get a couple shots in, like pretty reliably, where there is this thing that they like to do. Right, so this is a pretty common neutral structure with him, right? 1, 2, 3. But now you only have 1 shot to use, so you actually need to focus up before you use these type of structures. So it has more concentration cost without the focus buff. Okay, so similarly here too, this thing they like to do is also weakened. Then also pressure strings they like to use. So before you could definitely do like double the amount of this, but as far as pressure, I don't think it's a big deal as much as like some of like frankly the kind of lazy neutral structures. Like I really disliked watching them just like, you know, like just running in from this and you just can't move. I really hated watching that. So small dub for the streets maybe. Now the other thing is that the steady aim has less guard crush, much less guard crush. So if you know about the guard crush loops, it's significantly less time. I don't know the exact advantage right now, but it's significantly less. You also will have this problem as an HC player where this was minus, by the way, but he's so far away that basically no one could do anything about this, where you would do something like this. But now they recover so fast that you don't have time. I shouldn't say you don't have time, but you don't get to do, because this is like a, at this point, old structure. You would do this, and as soon as you get it, you just start shooting, right? If you're a fast character, you just have more ways of fighting this, which I mean, I think is pretty good. This is a pretty aggressive way to fight him, just shooting in general. Okay, so Baiken. So I'll try to keep this short because I already thought about a lot of stuff from these changes. She has a couple of changes. First, unfortunately, she lost one of the ways she was able to change the damage with air gun specifically. So you might remember from last patch, she had this type of thing where if you did this correctly, you would get an extra unscaled hit, making this a really, really good, not just punish, but like way of killing people really early. At the end of the patch, she had like ways she could like two-touch you and stuff, but they took one of the ways to get to access more damage off this, so that's a little sad, but it's okay. In the corner, there was a way, I actually was never too good at doing this, but there was a way that you could make the gun hit only once, and they took that away, which is good. That thing was kind of annoying. It made me not want to use a gun to break the wall basically ever, because if the second hit didn't connect, then they would just fall, and I'm like, wow, I wasted my meter to do no damage, so that's very nice. The other big changes are to S-Kabari. So now this is +3. Now you cannot mash at point blank range. If I have Testament throw, they will not be able to throw this. So last patch, they would be able to throw this. The big thing being here, of course, for this. Because when you did this, people basically, I don't want to say people didn't do it. I'm sure there are people who did do it, but very quickly I was discouraged from doing it because of the threat of, oh, I spent half my burst to RPS around my opponent's throat. That kind of sucks. There were ways to reposition yourself so that you were further at the S-Kabari on Wild Assault, which I found very useful. But it was not very easy to do. So this is a kind of direct way of doing that. But then by being +3 with the additional like push on Wild Assault, I feel like I'm not going to be able to hit fuzzy jumps as easily after this. This is something I've been kind of thinking about. I don't know. I don't want to talk about her too much. Another thing it did is that they increased the combo blowback scaling. So it's very minor, but this is a combo that like used to work, basically. So the follow-up, before the problem was that close slash, if you did close slash, then you can end this. Now it's like, okay, they found another way to make it so you can end, so this is something you kind of gotta look at. And then last but not least is one, if you don't play her, you might be like, what is that? So we are very familiar with her throw, putting the tether on you, but she actually had an option to do a no tether throw, and previously there wasn't really a use for this. Like, you could left right off it, but it's just better to do it off tether, right? Because you get a huge combo, lots of meter. There was like I swear, it's like some almost like task shit where you could left right people and safe jump DPs with both sides, but it was just so impossibly difficult, I just gave up. So they added a float and more frame advantage to it. So normally it looks like whatever, and also in the corner you get a little corner space, right? You get a little corner space here. No shenanigans on back throw, unfortunately, but if you have the tether on you first and then you throw, you get a combo. So she joins characters like Bridget and Zato in being able to technically do meterless throw combos. So you set something up and then you throw and then you get a combos, which is pretty good. This rounds out her mix-up game off throw even more, or S-Kabari even more, because the return is really high here. Because you get a combo. Like, I think already getting a throw is a big deal. I want to say the reason they did this is because you technically don't get return off throw besides retethering them. I really don't know what they were thinking about this, but we take those. Anyway, so next testament. So one is that the 5k will blow you away less. Decrease blowback distance, right? So, you know, very subtle. The big one is the close slash. So close slash has a pop-up like Soul close slash or Geo close slash or Millia close slash. At a glance, you won't think it's a big deal because like this doesn't combo and this doesn't combo. After 2 seconds of labbing, I got like this. And this is combined with the 6H. Is a hard knockdown and you don't go as far. So opportunities for more return if you use close slash in your combos. The actual stain pop, I don't think it's the actual application of stain, it's from the stain pop. It has increased hit stop, so that should mean more frame advantage. So the big one, this is actually like old Testament counterplay. This does not work anymore. You'll see this sequence. Fireball, I'm gonna get Chrome. I'm gonna do 5k IED into 50-50. This is a pretty classic Testament string. The problem was that the 5k actually didn't give you enough frame advantage to do this. So if you blocked it crouching, you were able to walk out of the corner before. For all the people who are like, you don't know shit about this game, bro, I'd be playing mad characters, bro. Come on, bro. Okay? Very important against Testament. So now you can no longer do this, right? It's actually airtight. So I'm holding forward after blocking the 5k and I'm just stuck, right? Even if I wait, if I like crouch after the stain pop and wait, I am just locked out. So there are certainly more offensive structures that Testament should be able to have this patch. The H Fireball actually knocks back less too. You saw I used it in my combo before. And then the Teleport has the same deflect shield change that like it's not affected by knockback where when somebody uses deflect shield when Testament is not on the screen. All right, so first Bridget. One is that 6k has less startup, so I actually have Sin on guard first only. You'll see that 2k 6k is airtight and 5k 6k is airtight where it did not used to be. I think this is just that people didn't use this Gatling that much. I'm sure it had use in combos and stuff, just not for pressure. Then you have the far slash and 5h. So these moves actually had pretty big hurt boxes next to the yo-yo. But now you see I'm clashing from pretty far now. I think it's still possible to hit, just like a lot harder, especially like 5h. Should be a lot harder for them to just like straight up beat your move because like there's a hurt box there. The other two are like small niche issues, right? So during Kickstart My Heart, when you did shoot, apparently there was an issue on counter hit again despite the Rekka change, so I think they're just tightening all those up. And then for this move, Roger Dive, so apparently there was like a damage scaling problem on this. The big changes were really to 6k, far slash, and 5h. Then Sin. Sin only got 2 changes here. So one is that run up DP doesn't go as far. I was like, how much less? But honestly, less. It is less. It looks like it basically is not affected by momentum at all. You know, before he would go sliding, he'd go way farther than this. And we know why. This was definitely quite a tactic. So they just want people to run in deeper before they decide to eat some glue. You know what I'm saying? And then the other one is that Tyrant Barrel does less damage now to the follow-up. So if they specifically called out, and it's funny because I actually played Kizzy the other day, and they specifically called out things like doing hoof stomp into Tyrant Barrel. Okay. Disclaimer, I think this is actually the clean hit. Okay, so next, Bedman. So first, Bedman 6H is a hard knockdown now, so I'm assuming this is going to be more combo routes. It's also adjusted to be less affected by blowback scaling, right? So they really want you to use this in combos. People don't really use this much. If there's an advantage that Bedman has, is that a lot of people don't have experience against this character, so I think the people who do use this as far as an offensive tool are mostly like, yeah, I don't even think people know how my character animates, so I'm just going to do it. So for the people who don't do that, you at least have this also as a combo tool. JD is also faster, significantly faster. I don't know how much faster this will be as far as mix-ups straight up, but it does, the move itself does just look faster. And then they did a lot to the top. So main thing being that you are really close after a knockdown, but they also fix stuff about like the damage scaling, increase the base damage scaling, decrease how much it knocks back, made the hitbox above, in front, and behind, and the hurtbox the final hit bigger. So they did a few things to this move. So then Asuka. So Asuka also got the same 6p change as Faust and Axl. So again, you're going to be able to 6p things that you could not 6p before. The simple example again was the Ram Sword Toss after Close Slash, where these characters couldn't do it before. Now they can. It's pretty nice. So the biggest change is for many cubes, they move slower and they have bigger hurt boxes. So to show this off, I have like 3 of his main elemental cubes, right? I have water cubes, wind cube, and thunder cube. So first, just look at it. Okay. If this doesn't look slower to you, then I don't know. It looks slower to me personally. But then also look how early I could hit it. So before, because they traveled so fast, there were like certain times where you would swing into the one and the other one would just hit you. Where now I think there's way more avenues for being able to hit these. It's like cut this, 5k this, jump over this, JH, okay? And this would not be possible before. Of course, Streets love this change. There's not a lot of characters that were like easily able to clear these cubes. I don't think it actually affects the character. Honestly, I think Asuka just took a slap on the wrist. But I do like this in that, like, before you needed like just big horizontal very active moves, which not a lot of characters had. So like Nago Far Slash or Faust Scalpel were really good against these. But now there's like more creative ways that you could use to fight back against these. It also, despite the staff being good, so I'm talking about the accelerate stuff, because that staff is really good, I think it makes it stand out a little bit more. So here's the accelerate stuff. So this is the stuff that when you block cubes, they cause guard crush, which is pretty strong. It's one of the strongest staffs he has at a glance. So this is actually more similar to last patch, but because of the bigger hitboxes, you can still hit it. So if they didn't make the hurt boxes bigger, you wouldn't be able to hit these so easily. Like basically last patch, you could not swing into these at all. So even this, where the cubes are faster, you can swing into them. So this also applies to like the dice, but I think you have to actually really practice this. Okay, so that's something I came up with like kind of quickly. I don't know what the play is gonna be. When the classic easiest to hit is the big cube. So this is just me showing how far you can hit the cubes from. Then for 2 of his resource cards, similar to Positive Bonus and Nago Blood Gauge Duration when he bites you, the effect is shorter. So for example, Infinite Mana, it's actually called Recover Mana Continuous. We'll set it up and then we'll just do spells. We're casting spells, brother. So this one I think lasts pretty long still. So I think auto draw in comparison lasts way shorter. So that's where these little yellow down arrows are. I think it lasts way shorter than the recover mana. I think like recover mana lasts a really long time in comparison. Auto draw is kind of stupid because you just get to be more plus because you don't need to like redraw. I think it lasts a really short time in comparison. But overall, I think he got away with a slap in the wrist. I think it's nice he can fight back against cubes. Alright, and last is Johnny. So Johnny can now jump cancel his dash. So they really committed to you not being able to dash block, but it's fine. That's how he always was. There is a limit to how long you could wait. It looks like around like the first third of the move you can do it, but if you wait like until the half point, you can't. Just keep that in mind. In the anti-RP Mistfinder, it looks like the goal was to make it easier to combo, but I don't know. I tried it with a bunch of stuff and I couldn't do it. So Johnny players, let me know about that. When you do Air S Mistfinder, they don't go away as far. I guess this is for just when you stall them, because it doesn't look like you can combo really. And on counter hit, you know, it doesn't have like a special hit stun on counter hit. So I think it's just for that they're like closer to you, right? And then actually with turn up, I think this is pretty hard to show, but apparently, and this again I think hasn't really run into my games, the follow-up to Mistfinder would still go off if he got hit. So we love changes like this. I love stuff going away on hit. So, and that's pretty much all the changes visually. We'll see how things go. I talked about it on stream, how I felt reading the changes, like how I felt about like characters going up or going down, but I think I'll need like a couple of days of playing. But I'll definitely have to see how the changes actually affect the game, because last year's winter patch seemed pretty subtle, but the meta changed quite a bit from it, so we'll see. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I definitely speedran this. You know, I'm gonna take a nap after this probably. YouTube really likes it if you watch other videos, so please do that. And I'll see you next time. Peace out.